A warm welcome to today's first session, Renewables. CLT is delighted to be sponsor for the fourth year running of this year's Cleantech Innovate, and especially pleased to see so many, in fact I think 340 familiar faces. Welcome to everybody. Today CLT are delighted to introduce the Renewables section and would like to say a few words about the exciting times ahead. It was 10 years ago the government published the Stern Review on the economics of climate change. Yes, really 10 years. It's actually also the year that CLT was registered at Companies House. And as we were thinking about the renewable generation over this 10-year period, we contemplated a number of key and interlinked themes. What's the biggest competition facing renewables today? Is it oil at $30 a barrel? Is it nuclear at £90 a megawatt hour? Will the UK shale gas resource really be able to be produced economically? And just how big are the barriers facing distributed generation? We reflected on the amazing price drop in PV, 80% since 2008, and in wind energy power prices have also fallen dramatically. However, soberly, we recognised that whilst prices will continue to fall, without more help, the decrease will not be fast enough to make a dent in the climate problem. This led us to contemplate the conundrum of carbon pricing, the current catch-22. Policymakers are more likely to price carbon appropriately if they can see an affordable, cheap and secure way to moving to a low-carbon path. But reducing the cost of renewables requires investment and hence a carbon price. So firstly, investment. Following COP21, agreement conditions for successful innovation had never been more favourable. However, we have a growing chasm, or as I heard recently described, valley of stagnation, between promising innovation being developed and a lack of funding and investment skills focused on bringing clean tech engineering innovation and first-of-a-kind demonstrators to market. Venture capital is focused at the growth stage and will not take technology risk. High net worth and crowdfunding cannot generate the investment quantums needed. We think the time has come to take a fresh look at how government money and private sector investment can work together to make sure that today's early stage clean technologies can fulfill their massive potential and become established businesses. Alongside this government intervention to enable VC co-investment, we need the price on carbon. So, now let's consider this. Putting an effective price on carbon must be the centrepiece of any comprehensive change policy, and there are signs of encouraging change. Almost 40 countries and more than 20 cities, states and provinces already use carbon pricing mechanisms or are planning to implement them, and these jurisdictions are responsible for more than 22% of global emissions. The Carbon Disclosure Project, that serves 822 institutional investors with $95 trillion in assets, reports that companies are also quietly preparing for a world with a price on carbon emissions. In the last year, 5,500 companies disclosed their carbon emissions, and there have been a significant jump in the number of companies attributing a cost to each tonne of carbon dioxide they emit to help guide their investment decisions. In 2015, 435 companies disclosed using an internal price on carbon, which is a tripling of the 150 companies in 2014. And encouragingly, an additional 582 companies said they expect to be using an internal carbon price in the next 2 years. Carbon is currently around $9 a tonne. To increase this, we need policy change. Ideally, effective regulation would lead to a market where the price of power and heat are varied by time and location, reflecting full cost of generation, distribution, including the environmental cost, a carbon price. This would provide price signals for competitive innovation and least cost solutions to develop over time. For example, regulators could mandate that companies screen their investment cases with and without a carbon price, which could be set on a pathway to £30 a tonne of CO2 equivalent in 2020, for example, in line with the proposed climate change levy. We are very encouraged by what we read and heard coming out of COP21 and also by the UK government's commitment and increased budget to innovation spend over the next 5 years. In fact, the DEC consultation, Ensuring Regulation Encourages Innovation, closes today. We hope everybody in this room has taken that opportunity to have your say and put your view forward. If we look 10 years in the future, what do we see? We want a thriving clean tech sector, creating sustaining jobs across the country to boost our balance of payments, underpinned and made possible by an effective price on carbon. We have a number of potential solutions here today that will help those growing established businesses reach their full potential. And it's my pleasure to hand over to the 7 renewable finalists covering solar, wind, waste to fuel and energy harvesting. We look forward to hearing your presentations and how you plan to contribute to the future of energy provision.